Hello and welcome to the local campaign, helping voters make an informed decision for the upcoming municipal election. I'm your host and moderator for tonight's debate, Dan Polishchuk. Tonight we have the Kitchener Ward 5 debate. Kitchener's 5th Ward is located in the southwest corner of the city and is bordered by New Dundee Road in the south, Trussler Road to the west, Highway 8 in the northwest, and Bleems Road in the northeast. Homer Watson Road makes up the northeast border, and the southeast border runs along the edge of the Dune South and Brigadoon neighborhoods. Now, there are 4 candidates running for the Ward 5 council seat, and they are Andres Fuentes, Ized Ahmad, Sonal Pandya, and incumbent Kelly Galloway Seelock. Now, a speaking order was drawn before the debate, so with their opening 2-minute remarks, here is Andres Fuentes.
Thank you. The city of Kitchener is experiencing massive amounts of growth, and we need to be purposeful in how we are shaping that growth. Unlimited sprawl, unconnected neighborhoods, and unsustainable tax areas can and should be avoided. I want to bring my vision for smart growth and sustainable communities to Kitchener. This means creating spaces that have ample public transit and active transportation. Building sustainable communities means building connected neighborhoods. We need bike and pedestrian-friendly paths that are safe to use all year round. Smart growth also means working with developers to ensure that new structures they build are sustainable and built to withstand things like increasing flooding risk and other impacts of climate change. These same impacts must be planned when building and updating city infrastructure. Smart growth means protecting our green spaces, which not only provide community spaces, but help keep temperatures down in the summer and our air clean and fresh. Smart growth means ensuring the city is building neighborhoods in a variety of price ranges, ensuring we have ample space for affordable housing. It means being purposeful on how we plan these neighborhoods and work to increase the amount of affordable housing in Kitchener. We need to focus on growing up, not out, holding the country line, and allowing city services to be provided more efficiently and more cost effectively. I want to make sure the city is budgeting for its carbon use, planning its growth, and working to build communities and not just neighborhoods. Most importantly, I want to encourage more access and transparency. Our political system can only work as intended if your elected representatives are listening to you properly and representing your views and concerns. I am a member of this community, and I will work hard to serve my neighbors in a way that is transparent, engaging, and accessible.
Mr. Ized Ahmad.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity to present my vision for Kitchener and also how my skills and competencies make me your best candidate. Kitchener is at the crossroads of tremendous change, and it's an exciting time to be involved in this area. Recently, I heard the facts that Waterloo and Kitchener is the 2nd highest density of startups in the world, and there are over 1,100 new ventures. And our region is ranked the 25th best startup ecosystem in the world based on the report from Compass. So many different organizations like Communitech, Accelerator, Velocity, Catalyst. These are some of the words which have inspired my imagination and which have prompted me to stand for this election. So my objective is to serve this community for these to attain lofty goals. My perception of Kitchener is as a city which has a lot of untapped potential. It has done a lot, but there's lots more we can do. In the near future, the upcoming LRT, the transit transformation, proposed high-speed rail, which is expected to be completed in 2020. Also, the study is completed in 2020, and better Highway 401 access means there's going to be more influx of people from other communities from the GTA to our region and to Kitchener especially and to our ward also. So while other cities have tapped this influx in a very significant way, we have done a lot here, but there is still room for improvement. And I would like to make a strong contribution to that improvement. There are several reasons to vote for me. So I have financial background, I have financial literacy, I have an MBA, I've worked for over 10 years in the banks and insurance companies in Canada. And I think a councillor should have a deep understanding about finance because all the decisions affect the finance and economy of the city. I have experience also in infrastructure management. I have a real estate background, and this is very important in our also community that we manage the real estate in a proper manner. So you should vote for me because I am your best candidate based on these and other attributes also, and I look forward to providing my community service in this context. Thank you very much.
And Ms. Sonal Pandya with your opening remarks.
Hi. Thank you, Rogers, for providing this platform to connect candidate and the community. Thanks, candidates and viewers. Today is the day, 2nd October. Canada and region of Waterloo make a remarkable day today by Donna Stecklin. She got the Nobel Prize today, so today's day is remarkable. Even Mahatma Gandhi, the great freedom fighter of India, was born on 2nd October. I also follow the Gandhian principle. It means the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service for others. My name is Sonal Pandya. I am mother of 2 kids. My husband Bridges is self-employed and active in community and volunteer works. Being a long-term resident of Kitchener, I am aware of major challenges that Kitchener City and Waterloo region is currently facing, is like public transport, crime, drug addiction, safe injection site, traffic calming, lack of affordable housing, etc. I feel the strong commitment and passion for the finding innovative solution. We can address these challenges issue, but we need passion, will, and desire. So what I am doing for my living? Well, by profession, I am a medical lab technologist for 12 years, and then I was a toxicology technologist for 10 years. Currently, I am working in admin department in same company. Along with my full-time job, I volunteer for various organizations, the Art of Living Foundation, HSS, International Language School. I continue my participation with various community services like tree plantation, food drive, and International Yoga Day. I regularly arrange stress management workshop. For my volunteer works and community involvement, I was recognized for Focus for Ethnic Women by Focus for Ethnic Women as a Focus on Friends 2010. Now I'm very eager to use my skills and experience to become elected representative of Ward 5 Kitchener City Council. I will give my 100% for preserving environment, advocating good life with dignity, supporting active transportation, seeking thoughtful, sustainable development with responsibility, accountability, and transparency. There are 3 types of people. First, who make things happen, who watch things happen, and who wonder things happen. I am the first one who will make the things happen. Thank you.
Thank you for those opening remarks. And lastly, Ms. Kelly Galloway Seelock.
Good evening, and it is my pleasure to be here to participate in the Ward 5 debate. I'd like to thank Rogers for hosting the municipal debates and allowing us the opportunity to discuss the matters that are important to the residents of Ward 5. I am blessed to be the mother of 3 active boys and married to my wonderful husband, Trevor. We are your neighbors, using the same programming, going to the same community centers, attending the same events, going to the same elementary schools, and enjoying the same park spaces. We feel fortunate to live in this wonderful community. It has been an honor to represent Ward 5 for the past 3 terms. We have continued to build a community we can all be proud of. I have the experience, the strong leadership, and knowledge to continue to move projects forward, to oversee our growth and sustainable development. I have worked hard to build relationships with residents, stakeholders, partners, and city staff. As always, I am committed to listening to the residents of Ward 5 on all matters affecting our neighborhoods and our city by continuing to make myself accessible. There are many issues affecting Ward 5. Some of them include transit, safety, speeding on local roadways, lack of facilities, to just name a few. And tonight, I look forward to the discussion on many of these issues that affect us in Ward 5.
Thank you all. Now, to start the question and answer portion of our debate, we now go to Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce Vice President Art Sinclair with our first question.
All municipalities across Canada have been facing infrastructure challenges in the last number of years. That is, building roads, water mains, sewers, and other necessary structures that businesses and residents require on a daily basis. Do you support using property tax increases to finance current and future infrastructure requirements? And if not, what would you propose as an alternative revenue source?
Okay, on the question of potential property tax increases to support infrastructure growth and challenges and improvements, we'll begin with Mr. Ahmad. Your response.
Thank you. Yes, as far as I understand, there's several different sources of municipal revenue. One of those is property taxes, but there are others also. So property taxes includes residential, multi-unit, commercial units. And each one of those has a different current rate of property taxes also. The other ways municipalities get income is from user fees for using the enterprises such as golf and also parking and other aspects, and also utilities. The third is government transfers, so government transfers from provincial and federal government. Then there's development charges, which are charged to the builders. There's also infrastructure provided by developers also. There's investment income which comes from the investments from the municipality. And there's income from municipal corporations. So in my concept is that, yes, majority of it is coming, the revenue of the municipal is coming from property taxes. However, that should not be the first and foremost objective to increase property taxes. We first need to look and see how efficient are the other activities of the municipality. And that is the key objective. I have experience also in process improvement and also in finance background. So if elected, I would be looking into seeing how are these currently being managed. For example, we have a golf enterprise. The municipal is funding golf courses currently, and there is the golf course, more or less the expenses and the income are equaling out. There's about $12,000 in the budget for golf enterprise, and there's a room for improvement there, and similarly other such types of enterprises. So I think that is a key thing that we should focus on before we go ahead and increase, although yes, our property taxes increase has been 1.6%, which is less than inflation. However, we still need to look into these other aspects also. Thank you very much.
And Ms. Panja, how would you address the infrastructure challenges the city faces, and would you also support a property tax increase?
Well, city receive lots of revenue from property tax, from land development, from other sources. So I'm not in favor to increase the property tax, because every day Kitchener is growing and it's adding taxpayer every single day in Kitchener-Waterloo region. So we are getting enough money, and that was a good example that the garbage collection we moved from weekly to bi-weekly, so it saved lots of money. So we have to find out such kind of sources that we can save money and we utilize. We also have to find out where we can reduce the wastage of the taxpayers' money. So I suggest not to increase the tax.
And Ms. Galloway-Seelock, you've had a first-hand look at it over a number of years now. What would your approach be to address this need?
So our current approach, and the approach that I would continue on, is using our utility rates in order to pay for aging infrastructure. I think it's important for us to continue to use it as it is a user rate, and we put it through the stormwater management, the sanitary sewer, the water utility, as well as the gas utility. And I think it's the best way, because that is what our aging infrastructure is our pipes and our roads. And so I think we need to continue to fund it through this mechanism and not use the property taxes. When speaking about property taxes, I think it's important to talk about other things that need property taxes in order to help us grow and invest. One of the things that I've been blessed to be able to do on council is keep our rate of inflation or our tax increase to the rate of inflation. And while we need to deal with the aging infrastructure, we also need to look at and invest in our roads, our new roads, and our new infrastructure, including recreational facilities. And one of the other things with taxes that we need to look at, or ways to generate revenue, is look at the sponsorship strategy that we have at the City of Kitchener to generate alternate forms of revenue in order to help offset all the costs that are coming from our utility rates and our property taxes increase. So that's the approach I would take.
And how would you uniquely position yourself, Mr. Fuentes, in this discussion?
Well, let me first off start by saying that infrastructure is very important, and our infrastructure is facing some new challenges. I think we all might remember the floods that we faced, some of the flash flooding we faced last summer, because our infrastructure isn't used to the amount of rain we are getting in the short amount of time period we're getting now. And this is just going to increase because of climate change. So infrastructure is something that is very important that we maintain up to date. Now, having said that, I think any municipal politician you talk to will tell you about how the fact that municipalities have large costs but often get a small percentage of the tax base. And so I think we need to continue to talk to the federal and provincial governments to make sure that they support us, and they have in the past provided funds for infrastructure specifically, and we need to continue to look at that. I think user fees is another more direct and transparent way to recover the cost of this infrastructure. But I will say that I believe that infrastructure is important, and if property taxes is the only way we can afford to pay for them, then I would look at them. I wouldn't write off any source because I do not want us to do what some municipalities have done, and that's push off updating our infrastructure until it breaks or until we have some major problems.
All right, moving from infrastructure to transportation, and most of you, if not all of you, had mentioned that in your canvassing in your wards, it is a topic top of mind for the residents of Ward 5. But with so much new growth in the Kitchener's southwest area, how would you approach the region about increasing Grand River Transit service in Ward 5 specifically? And Ms. Pandya, you have the first chance at a response.
Public transport is the very much important for the Southwest Kitchener, as I suggest that we should have a like one route that moves surrounding to connect the all the way Grand River, and also it connect from north to east and south and west, right? So it will help to connect. Like we need more convenient, cheaper, and last minute connectivity for the public transit. And also cheaper, because for my workplace to home is just like 5-minute drive. It costs $2 for gas, but when I take the public transit, it costs $7. So I would suggest we should make it cheaper, so more people will use it, and we can also make like peak hour, like free day, free time, free ride, or maybe Friday free time. Most of the afternoon time, buses are running empty. I suggest we can make some times that people can explore and enjoy public transit. I would suggest we can have intercity buses to connect with Guelph, Stratford, so people can come easily and use our transit.
So Ms. Galloway-Seelock, to Ms. Pandya's point, is that sort of all-encompassing coverage realistic for Grand River Transit, or what would you key in on?
Well, with transit being a regional responsibility, I think it's important to take an advocacy role, in which I have done over the course of my terms on council. I've been able to advocate to get transit into new neighborhoods that didn't have any service, as well as I advocated to, in the long term, make sure that we get transit into new subdivisions quicker than we have been. And I think that's really important. We have a lot of people moving into our community, and they're used to coming from cities that have mass amounts of public transit. And we're losing them to the car culture because there is no public transit for them to use. We're seeing people walk along Fisher-Hallman Road, a single lane, 60-kilometer-an-hour roadway. We need transit to assist those people to get into town in order to get to school, to work. So I think transit is definitely something that's important. And we need to also look at getting transit working during the weekends. So recently we got a new route out to an underserviced area of the city, but it's not on weekends yet. And so there still is a role to play in advocacy with the region to try and get transit moving forward. And I know as the LRT comes on the tracks that there will be more iExpress buses and connector buses, and I think those are important. And to see how that system's going to operate is definitely, hopefully, going to be beneficial to the residents of Ward 5.
And Mr. Fuentes, despite the solutions that have been mentioned by Ms. Galloway-Seelock, do you still identify gaps, and how would you improve those with Grand River Transit approach?
So transit is actually something that I already have experience in advocating for. When I was at the Federation of Students as Vice President of Education, one of my responsibilities was to advocate for better transit for students. This is something that I did for 1 year as Vice President of Education and for several years as a policy member of the team. And so I know how to approach Grand River. I know how to work with them, look at the numbers, make the arguments that say we need more transit for this region. Saying that, we definitely need transit from the get-go. I think too many of our new developments have transit. For example, when I moved into my neighborhood in Huron Village, we had transit only at rush hours in the mornings and in the evenings, and that doesn't really allow you to not have a car. So my neighborhood is basically car dependent, and that is something that I hear a lot about when door knocking. But transportation is not just about transit. I think we also need to make sure that we have active transportation options. So Kelly mentioned the walk along Fisher-Hallman. That is quite dangerous. We don't have sidewalks, we don't have bike paths, And it keeps us away from basically the grocery store and the coffee shops that are in Williamsburg. And I think that we can't build new developments without properly putting sidewalks in, bike paths in, and all forms of transportation, that people have options, including not having a car, which also makes living a little bit more affordable for some.
Mr. Ahmed, how would you engage GRT to increase service to the ward as well, to all of those points that have been mentioned?
Yes, I agree with Kelly and Andres also in terms of it's important to make sure that we have the numbers available, and actually this is related to infrastructure. So as infrastructure grows, we have a lot of growth in our ward in the south side, and that also actually impacts, of course, other areas also of Kitchener. It's important, first of all, before any subdivision is even approved, to have this plan in place rather than doing it later on. So we need to, if elected, I would be more into like having this available before we start out with the subdivision, and as a part of the development charges, the builder should also, they should be also contributing towards the Grand River Transit expansion in that area, and it's important for those buses to link with the LRT. And I also teach at a local college, and there's lots of students coming from even Brampton to study here in Kitchener, and they're having trouble going back at night also. So even that also is another concern for Kitchener overall, not necessarily our ward, but still maybe people are living in our ward. So I think it's very important that people have cheap and effective and easily available, accessible types of transit available. So as if elected, I would be advocating for that definitely.
So from public transit, we move to cyclists and pedestrians. So my question for the candidates in regards to the roundabouts in Kitchener, and do you find them user-friendly for cyclists and pedestrians? And how would you like to approach the roundabout issue in general and development going forward? And we'll begin with Ms. Galloway-Seelock on that response.
So roundabouts really have been a hot issue in Ward 5 recently, when a number of the students who used to go to Jean Steckley had to cross over the roundabout at Fisher Holman in Seabrook in order to get to Janet Metcalf at their school. And one of the things that I was able to help the residents do was get a crossing guard there in order to help the grade 7s who get to cross that road. It wasn't the pedestrians or the students that were necessarily the issue, it was the motorists. And so I think it's important for us to continue to educate motorists as well as pedestrians on how to safely use roundabouts. But there is definitely a better solution, and I think we need to continue to work for better solutions with regards to pedestrians at roundabouts as well as cyclists. Some of the suggestions that I hear from the community are moving back the crosswalk from the roundabout. I know that staff would argue against that, but roundabouts do help. They're environmentally better because you're not sitting and idling in your car. And so there's also, it takes the ownership onto the pedestrian to make sure that they look before they cross. And also the accidents that are happening at roundabouts are much less severe than the ones that are happening at intersections with light signals. And so I think it's important for us to continue to make sure that we advocate and work towards solutions that help pedestrians and cyclists in roundabouts. Sometimes it's coming up with creative solutions or on a case-by-case scenario, but I'm always willing to work and come up with solutions that make things safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. Thank you.
So what are you hearing from cyclists and pedestrians on their thoughts about roundabouts, and has that shaped your perspective, or how has that shaped your perspective on future development, Mr. Fuentes?
So I actually live very near to that roundabout that Kelly spoke of, and I completely agree. I'm glad that we found a solution in terms of crossing guards, and we have a sign right now saying to slow down and stop for pedestrians. But the real problem comes in not thinking about it before we build them. This is not a new problem. We had this issue when we built the roundabout near St. Mary's, and we also had the issue of students crossing over to St. Mary's. There are alternative designs for roundabouts, because roundabouts in themselves do cause much less severe collisions, if there are collisions, because the speed is much slower when they happen. And they're usually not direct 90-degree type things. But if we look outside of our neighborhood, if we look outside of North America, in Europe, there are great pedestrian and cyclist-friendly designs for roundabouts. So we're not just talking about moving the crosswalk back a little bit, or tweaking small tweaks, but we're talking about integrating bike paths and pedestrian crossings into these with a sort of thinking and treating pedestrians, cyclists, and cars equally and not just saying, well, what works for pedestrians as an afterthought. So I think we really need to look at the options that we think of and start moving outside of that box to provide some good solutions for these challenges. Because as a cyclist, I definitely actually really dislike roundabouts. I find them quite scary to go into. So I think we need to look at these and we need to look at alternatives, not just within our own backyard, but everywhere. There's best practices all around the world, and I want to make sure that council and our staff are looking at those.
So, Mr. Ahmad, would you say the roundabouts in Kitchener are user-friendly for cyclists and pedestrians, and how would you like to approach the future development of those?
Yes, with roundabouts, when I was door knocking in various areas, a lot of people have mentioned about the roundabouts as not being very clear about how to use them, and they also feel that it's more difficult to navigate a roundabout. And the studies, yes, I agree with Kelly. I mean, this recent issue about the roundabout, getting a crossing guard there, that's a great, initiative. I know that Kelly took it on as seriously and got it approved. But it is a cost of $10,000 for getting a crossing guard at that intersection. And we have so many other roundabouts in the city. And this is an overall issue with all the roundabouts. There's so many roundabouts also in Ira Needles, the large roundabouts on Ottawa, and also on Huron, on Homer Watson. These all, there's severe issues with also traffic in that area for pedestrians and for cyclists also, and also for motorists. So there's a need for better education about roundabouts, I think. Overall, we have great cycling paths. We have in Kitchener, we're lucky, we have so many trails and other ways that cyclists can use. So I think it's important to understand, is roundabout really a good idea or not? And should we continue with those or not? So this is also a part of the, I think, improvement strategy that needs to be looked at into the future.
And your thoughts, Ms. Pandya?
So I suggest cyclists are the priority and pedestrians are the priority. So we have in 2,400 population, we have each and every home with more than 2 cars. And we have 3,000 cyclists. So keep in mind, we have to educate everyone how to use roundabout. Because some people said we like roundabout and some people prefer not to have roundabout. But I suggest we have roundabout in smaller area, but not at the bigger intersection like Ottawa. That roundabout is very scary for pedestrian and the cyclist. So it's we need to educate when we are driving, be careful about the pedestrian and the cyclist. And on Huron near Business Park, on Bleams we have only one side for bike and pedestrian. We should have both sides, so it will be easy and convenient, because Bleams is very busy and it has only one side. I prefer we have both sides, and we can increase more bike lane for the people. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to stick with specific amenities in Ward 5 now. And what would you identify as being in the most need of in the ward, and how would you advocate for them at City Council? So, Mr. Fuentes, we'll begin with yourself on the responses.
Sure. I think from door knocking, I would say there are 2 big things I've been asked for, other than transit. It is library and also a Catholic school. So I believe the Catholic school is already in the plans, and I've been talking to some of the candidates for school board already about making sure that that does go through. But I think a library would be a great fit. It provides recreational opportunities beyond just the great outdoor spaces that we have already and that we are planning to have in our neighborhood. There's a great park that's being developed in the next couple of years, and I believe has some nice athletic amenities, but I think a library would provide a nice contrast, lots of activities indoors, and libraries have become so much more than books. So those are sort of the 2 big things that I've heard from residents that I would be looking to push forward within our ward.
And Mr. Ahmad, what few amenities would you suggest are the most in need of in the ward, and how would you advocate for them at council?
Yes, I also agree. Doing door knocking, most of my people who have discussed with, they are saying that recreation facilities are not up to the mark as in other places. And a lot of these actually people have, moved from Toronto, from Markham, from other Brampton, Mississauga, and they're used to very, diverse, very, huge community centers with libraries, with a lot of facilities, which we don't have in our ward. And even so, I think that is, and I know there's one in the works and which is being planned, which is underway. So that is a big gap. And so before we really, have new subdivisions set up, these sort of facilities should be already planned. And if elected, I would be advocating for further, more better facilities in our area for recreation and also for library for the community. So I think that is a very important aspect which I will be working on.
And Ms. Pandya, what would you be advocating for and how specifically?
So Ward 5 is biggest in among the all 10 wards in Kitchener, and we don't have permanent community center. We don't have playground. We have park, but we don't have playground. We also send email for having benches in the summertime. We get almost at the end of the summer. We also need in other side of like Huron area. It's a new area, but we still need to make it ready before the houses are there. Community center, playground, and library too, as Mr. Anders mentioned. So I agree we need everything as soon as we have homes in the new construction area.
And Ms. Galloway-Seelock, last response to you on the topic. What amenities would you identify as most pressing for Ward 5?
This is one of my favorite topics because it's also one of my priorities to make sure that it happens. In the next 4 years, Ward 5 is about to get what it deserves. And by saying that, I mean it's about to get the South District Park, otherwise known as RBJ Schlegel Park. And that park is to open in the fall of 2019. We'll have 2 soccer fields, a football field, a cricket pitch, playground, and splash pad. That's all in phase 1. And then in phase 2 and 3, we will see indoor soccer facilities as well as a pool and other amenities to come in further phases. That's just one piece of the puzzle. We also have a Kitchener Public Library branch coming to our ward in 2020. The funding's already in place in the capital forecast. As well as the school for the Catholic school site has been decided. We were going to partner with them for a community center, but unfortunately the site wasn't big enough. So we know that the school board, the Catholic school board, has the funding to build that project, as well as the 2 community centers. We have a permanent community center planned for Williamsburg in 2020. And one of the things that I was recently able to get, use my strong voice at council, was to get another community center, which will be attached to the new Huron Woods School on Tartan Avenue. That will be done fall of 2020, or planned to be done in fall of 2020. We'll have a community center there that will be also have a daycare and an early on center. So we are about to get some facilities that are much needed that we've been waiting for. And I know the residents have been waiting for a long time, having been elected for 12 years. I've heard the same concerns over and over again. But unfortunately, the development charges haven't been going to necessarily our area. And I continue to fight for those development charges because that ideally is what's going to pay for these facilities, not the tax base, but the development charges. So I will continue to work and use my strong voice at council to make sure that these facilities continue to move forward.
And in that spirit of bringing a strong voice to council, how would each of you address homelessness and addiction in Kitchener? And we'll begin the responses with Mr. Ahmad.
So homelessness and addiction is a major issue in our in Kitchener. Maybe not so in our ward, but still it is a concern. And as a candidate, I understand the need for support for these type of people. We do have a lot of issues with homelessness in terms of the plan also for safe injection sites. The Ontario government has also said that there will be also for now cannabis is being legalized, and there is also talk about having cannabis stores in also municipalities, and municipalities have the right to opt out of that if they desire to before January 2019. So these issues which are concerns for our community, these are I've been talking to my constituents about that, and it is important for us to understand the facts and figures. Safe injection sites will be helping our community overall in overcoming, in making addiction more, helping them out in terms of lower number of overdoses, less injection drug equipment litter. You won't find needles outside and there's also less use of emergency services. However, constituents also have said that they are concerned about the location of these sites. In Kitchener, there will be there are two planned locations, and there's still debate going on about the location of these sites. So if elected, I would be preferring that these are in less populated areas, and transportation system should be available for those people. And similarly with the cannabis also, it is legal in Ontario shortly. So people can order online, and if this is an addiction issue for them, they should be able to order online. I think my constituents mainly have said that they would not prefer to have these type of stores in the municipality. So that would be something which we would discuss in the future. So these are some of the things which thoughts I had about addiction and homelessness.
Thank you very much. Ms. Panja, how would you use your position then to address homelessness and addiction in Kitchener?
So, well, addiction, it starts from the mental health. So we have to take care of our youth for the mental health. I checked that from age 25 to 39 are people involved mostly in addiction. So youth are in like dangerous situation. We have to take care of their mental health. We have to collectively work together with city, region, the youth services and mental health services, so we can bring them out. Homelessness is also a big issue. I would suggest we can mandate our developer to make more houses for homeless, and we can accommodate them, and we can educate them, we can train them. We need to be with them, rehab them, and train them with like some skills so they can go back to work and educate them.
And Ms. Galloway-Seelock, how would you address the issue of homelessness and addiction in the city?
Thanks for the question. Homelessness shouldn't be segregated to one level of government. We need to work on solutions together to support those who need the help. It's not just a Kitchener issue, a Waterloo Region issue, a provincial issue, but it spans across the country. All levels of government need to work together to address homelessness. It's important when talking about housing that for many years the region of Waterloo mainly took the responsibility. But in the last 4 years, Kitchener Council has taken on some of that responsibility, having been working with developers, especially in the downtown area, to get a few units per development to fit the criteria of affordable housing. This is being done by offering incentives to developers on mutually agreed upon requirements, like decreasing parking requirements, to name just one. We need to continue to find creative ways to make sure affordable and sustainable units are being built, not only in the downtown, but across the city, and I will work towards that goal. With respect to the SIS sites, it is my opinion that supervised injection sites can help to save lives, and that is why we have to work together with all our partners to continue to pursue them. While it's a regional responsibility, I feel the city has a role to play, working with the region to identify the best possible sites and working in conjunction with all the services on the site. This needs to be a coordinated effort with all the wraparound services to assist members of our community that need assistance. However, at this time, the province has yet to decide if they will support SIS sites, and so this purely is just discussion at this time. Thank you.
And Mr. Fuentes, your thoughts on, or how would you rather address homelessness and addiction in the city?
Yeah, both of these are very complex issues, and I think the city can't tackle them alone. We definitely need to work with other governments and other agencies in our area, and the federal and provincial government. I think obviously in terms of homelessness and poverty, I think we need to address the affordable housing crisis that is starting to emerge in our city. I think we need to continue to do the things that some of the things that City Council has done in terms of trying to get developers to put in affordable housing units into new developments. I think we need to push for those to be all over the city and not just in the core of the city. And I think we also need to look at what we say when we talk about affordable housing, because when we say affordable housing, some of those levels are still not affordable for everyone. So we need to look and make sure that we have a wide range of affordable and subsidized housing. And in terms of addiction, I think we need to make sure that the support is there, including safe injection sites. I think we need to listen to the experts. Pretty much everyone agrees that these are great in terms of saving lives, in terms of helping to provide the support to those who need it on the front lines, and also work with other agencies to then provide additional support, whether it's counseling, emergency shelters, that type of thing, to make sure that if someone is looking to get help, they can get help And I think the city needs to be at the core of coordinating those efforts.
All right. Now, the point was made earlier how the ward specifically has attracted new residents from just outside the GTA to make it their home. But an extension of that, how would you use your position as a councillor to attract future development and future business to the region? And I'll begin with Ms. Pandya with the response.
Yes. So for region of Waterloo, we need something that attract tourists and people from outside. So one thing is like in my mind is like we have art and culture. We are like diverse. We have lots of people from all around the world. If you make like big art center or something that attract the people from outside to come and spend time in Kitchener-Waterloo. So I suggest we need to find out something. And art is one of the thing it's in my mind. So recently art and culture is adding 3.7 GDP in a total Ontario growth, and it costs like 2.5 million something. So it has a big portion in our GDP. So we should attract people from outside, and I suggest we need something that attract the people from outside.
And on the topic of long-term development, Ms. Galloway-Seelock?
Can you actually repeat the question for me?
So again, how would you look to attract new business and new development for in the longer run in the city of Kitchener from your position as a Ward 5 councillor?
I think we need to continue to grow a vibrant city. We have one that we enjoy. We have many, many festivals. We have a good arts and culture scene, which could always be improved, but definitely those are the types of attractions that we need. Our economic development plan continues to work towards the attraction and retention of talent, and I think that's really important. I think we also need to continue to work with developers in order to make sure we're building the housing stock that the community also wants. I have an example that when we worked with one of the developers on a project that's going to be off Strasbourg Road, it initially came forward as two 20-story apartment buildings, and that was going to back onto the residents of Ward 5. We worked really hard with the developers and the residents to come up with a solution that was happy, that made everybody happy, and it's more of a townhouse complex. So we avoided getting a 20-story apartment building, an 8-story apartment building, and now we're down to townhouse units, which made the residents much happier. So I think we need to work with developers to make sure that we're building the housing stock that the community wants and needs, but we also need to continue to attract businesses through our arts and culture, our economic development plan, and continue to move forward in order to make our city the best that it can be.
And the same question to you, Mr. Fuentes.
Yeah, we are very fortunate to be anchored in our community by great educational institutions that have brought a lot of talent to our community. And companies look for talent, and they come to for talent. Google and a lot of our tech companies have moved to Kitchener-Waterloo because that is where they could recruit the talent that they needed. And so what we need to do is to make our city a great livable city, a community where people want to come and live. If we can do that, if we can have recreational facilities, if we can have ease of transportation, including active transportation and transit, if we can have a community where you want to actually set up your home, start your family, then we will also be able to attract companies looking for that talent. And of course, that also includes affordable housing that I think we've discussed a lot of, and a diversity of housing. We need to make sure that people have a choice when they come here and that they can afford to live here, so that when they're looking for employment, this is the area they're looking for, and companies are also looking to set up here.
And Mr. Ahmad.
Yes, I think this is very important point, and based on also reason why people move from other areas to our areas or visit our area. So visiting is due to arts and culture, and we have great recreation facilities for people to visit us. But also for businesses, it's very important that they have the proper infrastructure available for their business. So yes, talent is one of the main key reasons why we have so much activity going on here. We have the universities and the Conestoga College, which are bringing out new talent. And the other main thing also is affordability. The cost of doing business here is less than that of GTA because of also property prices. Residential homes average price here is $550,000 approximately, whereas in the GTA it is around $850,000 on the average. So homes are, and also commercial properties, similar story. So I think it's very important for us to maintain a very unique type of area where there is every facility available as in other communities nearby, and also provide a very efficient cost of setting up business, running businesses, and making it easy to do business also. I think it's important for zoning. There's a lot of issues with zoning for the commercial aspects. Like I've been trying to get one of my clients a daycare, and there's so many different hurdles they have to go through to get, for example, a daycare. Similarly, with every other type of commercial endeavor, it's important to provide all the infrastructure and also to provide clear and easy, understandable types of zoning and other requirements to the people. And that way then we can stimulate more companies to come here and more jobs, and then more people will move into this area. So that's my context.
All right, well, for the next round of questioning, we'll have 1 minute responses from each candidate. We'll begin with yourself, Ms. Galloway-Seelock, but the question revolves around voter engagement, and more so, aside from the numbers that we've seen at the polls, and maybe not the numbers most of us would like to see, how would you engage the constituents after you're elected to maybe increase those numbers going forward and for future elections? If not already this one, what you've been doing, provide examples, and again, if you can provide a snapshot in a 1 minute response, beginning with yourself, Ms. Galloway-Seelock.
I will do my best. I think voter engagement is important, and we need to continue to work hard, especially in Ward 5. We are the lowest voter turnout across the city. And in my opinion, that's just not acceptable. We need to continue to try and work to get our voter engagement up. One of the things that I do as the local councillor is I hold Catch Up with Kelly meetings. I hold them at least twice a year, and I'm there for the residents to come and meet with me and talk about whatever their concerns are. But I also make sure that I'm available in any social media aspects, in email, in telephone. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what your concerns are, and I want to be able to help you. And so I think by doing that, hopefully people get engaged and continue to work towards our voter engagement. I think it's one of the things that, every 4 years you get your say. I think part of the reason why we have such a low voter turnout is because at a municipal level, there is so many different people that you have to vote for. And so it makes it very difficult to go in and vote for that many people. But I do hope that Ward 5 picks up their socks this time and goes out and votes.
Thank you for that response. Mr. Fuentes, how do we engage voters more during the election process and then afterwards as a potential ward councillor with your constituents, rather?
Yeah, I think it's key to engage constituents throughout the 4 years and not just during an election if we want to increase voter turnout. I am going to look at doing some of the things that I've seen other candidates and other representatives do and say those are great things. For example, a lot of candidates or a lot of representatives go around and door knock throughout the year just to say, hey, this is who I am. People move in and out and say, do you have any concerns? Currently on my website, I have do you have any concerns with the city? And I will maintain that if I'm elected. I also have a colleague in Winnipeg who has a great idea. They sit down once a week in a coffee shop for 3 or 4 hours, do their work, and people can drop in and chat about any issues or concerns that they have. And I think that's a great way to just engage people constantly, because I think that is key to maintaining the communication and accessibility that a councillor needs.
And then 1 minute response to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes. Yes, during the elections, people I've been talking to, they weren't aware about who they're going to vote for. So I prepared actually a one-pager summary. So first of all, I asked them, what do you know about the municipal elections? And most people don't know. So I give them that one-pager which shows, these are who you need to vote for. This is how you can vote. What are the requirements for voting? So I find that very useful. So in that way, and also I'm having a meet and greet also this Saturday. So also that also helps the people to understand. After being elected, I think that one key thing is to have online voting available. More turnout is possible. Other municipalities have that. For example, Markham and Cambridge, other ones do have online voting that will improve our voter turnout. Secondly, also, some of the municipalities give a rebate for contributions to municipal elections campaigns also. For example, Markham. So these things needs to be looked into to see possibly help more engagement can be improved.
Ms. Pandya, last response to you.
Yes. Election is the heart of democracy, and we need to survive with our democracy, right? So we should celebrate election as we can celebrate election. We celebrate democracy as an election too. So voter turnout last time in 2014 was 30%, and it's really break my heart. We need more people to come out, and we need to find out the solution, how we can do it. So one of the suggestion is like, if person is eligible to drive at 16, why not he is eligible to vote at 16? I suggest it will increase the taste of election from the age of 16, right? It will be very motivational. And one of my polling booths has only 6% voter turnout last time. I really would like to go in person and talk with them, and I will really engage with them. So make sure there will be more voter turnout in that polling booth. One of the things that Kelly said, catch up with Kelly, I heard first time that one. And from Sunday I received her flyer. I asked my friends also, did you heard about that? I never received any email. So I didn't know from last 2 elections that okay. And one more thing, that like if we make it compulsory, we can add in tax. Like if you don't vote, your tax will be little bit higher, or some kind of like how we can something we need for them, right, to make it like compulsory.
All right, I got to jump in there. Quick 10-second rebuttal there, Ms. Galloway-Seelock.
I advertise my Catch Up with Kelly's at the community centers, on Facebook, on any channel that I can. I also put them in publications that we're able to write in. And so if you want to know when they are, definitely you can find out through different means and channels.
Well, that does bring an end to the question and answer portion of our debate. Now each candidate will have the opportunity to provide a 2-minute closing remark. And with that, we'll begin with the incumbent, Ms. Kelly Galloway-Seelock.
Kitchener is a wonderful place to live and raise a family. We have a great quality of life and enjoy many great services. I look forward to continuing that vision for Kitchener City when sitting on Kitchener City Council. I am proud of my record over the last 12 years, keeping taxes low while creating efficiencies and fighting for projects that are crucial in Ward 5. I am proud of being innovative and coming up with ways to support our community needs, like different ways to combat parking pressures, leasing community space until we can get a permanent community center in Williamsburg, getting the approval for a second community center to partner with the school in the Huron Woods, and supporting our community when there are questions about safety, including getting a crossing guard at Fisher Hallman and Seabrook Roundabout. However, there is still work to be done. We have to make sure that the city facilities planned for Ward 5 are implemented in the next 4 years. We are currently underserviced, and I know I am the person that can make that happen. We need to ensure that we are building complete communities that are walkable and sustainable. There are many projects that we've spoken about tonight, including the widening of Fisher Hallman Road that I've sat on the project committee, the construction on Ottawa Street right now, I sat on the project committee. They're all regional projects, but I take the time to make sure I sit on those committees and that I'm engaged in what's going on in our community. I think it's important for any city councillor to continue to make themselves accessible. And I feel that by being on Twitter, on Facebook, email, phone, holding my open houses, I feel like I am accessible to all the community, and I'm willing to meet with anybody, anytime, anywhere. I think it's important to continue to meet with stakeholders and make our community a better place. With your support, we can work towards a better Ward 5 by re-electing Kelly Galloway-Seelock on October 22nd. Please check out my website at kellygallowayseelock.ca for more information. Thank you.
Candidate Sonal Pandya.
Yes. If I elected, I will continue to work for people, community, and region. Ward 5 is adding new taxpayer every single day, and I will make sure there will be not under services in future. The major concern in Ward 5 has been increasing vehicle traffic, lack of strong traffic calming measures. Residents know, some of them don't know about the current councillor. And we don't have like community center to host the event and recreational, etc. So I agree with Kelly that Ward 5 is currently under services and which city facilities mostly recreational. Recently, there was a request made to provide additional benches for seniors at Max Becker Park, and when city councillor was approached by one of the residents in summer, councillor was unable to reach the concerned city staff because a lot of city staff were on holiday. It was a touch getting response. Eventually, the benches arrived, but it was too late. These are the small things, but very important for the seniors and the community. I will make sure if I get elected, in order to better understand the issue and concern of the people, I will be in the touch with the people by my ward, by hosting quarterly town hall meeting with communication, encourage residents to sign up the email, receiving newsletter with the city region update, and myself to provide online annual progress report of my work. Rest of the I will provide my voice to the people. As a councillor candidate, I understand the need of the people and try my best to meet the expectation of taxpayer in my ward and the city. I understand the good balance sheet is very important to keep city finance in the order, which is only possible if you understand the concept of profit and loss, and I have that knowledge. I will establish and booth for long-term and short-term community goals, objective with the support.
Thank you, Ms. Pandya. We have to wrap up there. Candidate Aizad Ahmad.
Thank you. So I, like you, am a citizen of this innovative city, and I generally want to see this city flourish and blossom into something greater. I believe I can assist Kitchener to grow and become that future city. And I live here in this community with my wife and 2 children, and I've been, deeply involved in this community. And I think as a voter, you should be looking and seeing what is the competency of the candidate you're voting for. I think it's very important for candidates for this for municipal councillor to have certain qualities, and I have those 5 qualities. One is financial literacy, so I'll be able to manage the budget in a better way. These decisions will have an impact on the economy of Kitchener and our ward. I will be improving the processes in the City Hall also. I will be looking and seeing how we can get zoning and building permits and other processes and licenses done faster. I will also be looking into infrastructure enhancement, transportation, new subdivisions coming up should be planned accordingly, and also bringing more manufacturing jobs and IT-related jobs to our community, because now in the next era, it is important for our city to look into IT-related jobs and businesses also. And overall, I've been very much involved in the community also. I've been mentoring new immigrants to Canada also. I'm a new immigrant. I came to Canada in 2004. So I understand that. And so when you are doing your vote, please vote for somebody who has experience with diversity and also who has experience in these matters. Thank you very much.
And candidate, Mr. Andres Fuentes.
I have lived, studied, and worked in this community for most of my life. I am passionate about seeing it succeed. I've had the fortune of experiencing this community in many different ways, from being on the United Way Community Impact Council, to helping organize the Multicultural Festival, to being a junior interpreter at the Joseph Schneider House. The city of Kitchener has incredible potential, and Ward 5 is one of the many areas that is growing rapidly but needs more support. I believe that my knowledge of this community and my experience in politics, public policy, and government relations will allow me to serve this ward effectively. City Council should be the most accessible level of government, and I commit to not only bringing your ideas and concerns to Council, but also to making sure Council's decisions and discussions are more transparent and consumable. Working to keep citizens engaged with every level of government is something every elected representative should strive towards. I will be a representative you know, one you have access to, and one that you hear from throughout my entire term, not just during an election. On October 22nd, help me build sustainable community.
All right, thanks to our candidates and our viewers.